How'd you know he was a drug dealer?
They never hid it from me, I don't think. They used to hide the weed from me, but as far as the cocaine and the crack go, like, it was my job to learn how to do that so that I would never be broke. And I remember they used to say that to me, like, if we teach you how to do this now, if you ever lose your job, if anything ever happens, you'll know what to do and you'll never be broke.
Wow.
Yeah, so at like 12 years old.
So they tell you the family business.
Yep, taught me the family
Isn't
business.
it weird though? Freezing. Hey Lou, what's up, buddy?
Hey, what's up?
We're back again. We meet again. Yeah, the boner thing is happening. The pants boner.
Straight into the pants
Yeah.
boner.
Anyway,
Right off.
we're here with a guest, right?
Yep, Bridget.
Bridget, yeah, my homie Bridget. This little lady right here.
Yes, that's me.
So Bridget and I know Bridget, like I've known you since like the beginning of my journey, right? At least 2.5.
What's the
3
beginning?
years.
What do you consider the beginning of your journey?
Like first year
Yes,
of the
2021.
Of getting
yeah,
clean.
I'm getting clean, yeah.
Because I was gonna say, I think I was like there for the beginning
Well,
of
I
your
mean-
journey. That wasn't the beginning. Though,
Yeah, it
really.
was like the
2016.
Yeah,
wasn't
it was
even
not
the beginning.
the beginning at all. I don't even think I was
Fucking 8 years ago.
man.
It's crazy.
Anywho, yeah, Bridget and I were in treatment together.
Oh, right on.
Yeah.
Great.
Same group and all that good stuff. I love her like story. One of my favorite things about Bridget is like she's brutally honest, right? Don't care how
That's what we want.
glamorous it makes you look or not.
No.
And I think I have two instances. You know the one, but the other one I remember was like the first time we were in group together, and she was telling me about getting custody of her kids back and like what a pain in the ass they were,
Yeah.
and how she second guesses everything. I'm like, bud, I get that,
Yeah.
and that's what I knew. I was like, all right, it's gonna be a homie.
Yep.
So, Bridget, yeah.
It's funny. Everybody does social media because they want to get famous and look cool. And
Yeah.
we go on social media
The
and talk
opposite.
about how fucked up
How
we
I
are.
shit my pants. And, yes. Nothing cool here.
Everyone wants to be fucking
Yeah.
Instagram models. And
Yeah.
we're telling
Our
fucked up
lives
stories.
aren't perfect. We don't have Facebook lives, right? Even now, like
Yeah.
you're in the recovery journey, and
Right.
life is not perfect. Like we're
Not even
ugly
close.
human beings sometimes. So,
Yes.
but that's why I like Bridget, because she'll just tell it like
Tell
it
it how it
is,
is.
man.
Good.
Like no shame
all
in her
I
game.
got, yeah,
No
what-
shame in her game.
What you see is what you
That's
get.
it.
Man.
Perfect.
That's
Yeah. I guess we'll just start at the beginning, right?
Yeah.
So childhood, right? What was that like?
Okay, so childhood for me, very dysfunctional. So dysfunctional. I have 2 older siblings, 2 younger siblings. Me and my older siblings have the same dad. Me and my younger siblings do not. But we lived with my younger sibling's dad, and he went off to Iraq. And then my stepdad came into the picture, which is who I call my dad. So he's like been my idol all my life. Not a very good one, but that's who I've always wanted to be like, is my stepdad.
How many siblings?
So I have 4 altogether.
4, okay.
Well, I have another one. I've never met her before. That was my dad's business. So 5 technically, but
Okay.
4 that I know.
Okay.
So growing up, I mean, my mom was an alcoholic. She'd always do the partying and drinking on the weekends. And I've always kind of wanted that lifestyle, but I didn't know how to get it. So I started off with, those, not NOS, what was it called? Vault. And those Vault. It was like Mountain Dew, but it was called Vault.
Oh, yeah.
I would drink like
yeah.
a 12-pack of those because
Oh,
I
my.
thought like it was going to like do something for me, right? It was
Wait.
energy.
Oh, you chugged like a 12-pack of energy drinks
Yeah.
to
of,
try
the
and
Vault.
like.
Yeah, like do something.
Is
I
that
wanted-
like Surge? You remember Surge back in
I
like
think
the
that's
90s?
There's Mellow Yellow, Surge, Vault,
Vault,
Yeah,
yeah.
but it was like supposed to be like a lightweight.
Mountain Dew spin-off type deal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so anything to feel different is
Yeah.
what I would do. So
How old were you when you did that?
I was probably like 8 or 9.
Holy shit.
Golly.
Yeah, yeah. I
Man.
started off like way early.
And then like how soon a span? Are you pounding them like are you just going throughout the day? I'm doing
no,
the 12
like
pack.
we would like try to pull all-nighters, and so like all night long we're just like
Just-
yeah. So
It's
from the
so
time my mom went to bed to like 4 in the morning, we're just like pounding them down.
That's what I did growing up with video games. We'd get like balls, energy drinks, and like just
Yeah.
sit up all night and chug energy drinks.
That's
And I guess I never thought of that as like a red flag.
Yeah.
That I was like,
should have been an
trying
indicator
to,
of
like-
things to come.
Yeah, anything to take me out of
damn,
yeah.
fuck.
I was thinking about it last night. I'm like, I can't believe I really used to do that. I sure did. So my other siblings, they're all normal. They don't have the problems that I have. They have families and My brother's been with his wife for years. My sister, same thing. My other 2 siblings, they went and moved with their dad when I was probably like 10. And my older brother and sister went and moved with my real dad when I'm probably about the same age. And I stayed with my mom and my stepdad. So my stepdad, he's never been a drug addict, but he is a drug dealer, always has been.
Interesting.
And that's the life that I wanted. I don't know if you guys know Plies. I'm sure you do. But there's a song called Goonette.
I know who
That's what I
Plies is.
wanted. I wanted to be a goonette. That was my goal.
What does
in
that
life.
mean?
Yeah, I don't even know what that is.
I don't.
I'm
It's,
so unhip.
really? It's like I don't know. Like Plies is like main chick. You know what I mean? Like
Okay.
And is Ply a drug dealer?
Plies.
He's
you
a
know the
rapper.
rapper.
A
Plies?
rapper. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what.
Like every chick I got.
Bust It
fuck with
Baby
gotta
was
be a
his big
goonette.
song.
Yeah. Yeah, so she's like his ride or die, right?
Okay.
And so that's what I wanted. So living with my mom and my dad, the guy I call my dad, my stepdad, we would always make trips to Dayton to do the deal. And I wasn't in school. I got kicked out of school when I was like 13 because I couldn't keep my hands off people.
How'd you know he was a drug dealer?
They never hid it from me, I don't think. They used to hide the weed from me, but as far as the cocaine and the crack go, like, it was my job to learn how to do that so that I would never be broke. And I remember they used to say that to me, like, if we teach you how to do this now, if you ever lose your job, if anything ever happens, you'll know what to do and you'll never be broke.
Wow.
Yeah, so at like 12 years old.
So they tell you the family business.
Yep, taught me the family
Isn't it
business.
weird though? Isn't it ironic? Like they hide the weed. Like they don't want you to know about
Yeah.
the weed, but like
Right.
here's cocaine.
Yeah, I thought that was, my mom would like go into the bathroom to smoke weed and she'd come out and I would smell it.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I was like, damn.
So like
Mama.
the cocaine was like the money maker, and it
Yeah.
was like imperative that you learned how to sell it.
Yep, absolutely.
at 12.
Yep, at like
And
12,
I'm
13.
assuming he's like you're not selling powder coke, right? You're selling
He does both.
both. Okay.
Yep, he does both. So I always thought it was so cool. Like have people come over to buy, and the thing would be like, instead of like me knowing a cool party trick, it'd be like she knows how to cook crack. I was like, yeah, like I'll show you what to
At
do.
12 years old.
Yeah, and I
God.
thought I was the shit.
So you
like,
would like cook crack in front of them, like they would.
Yeah, like with him.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Holy shit.
Yep. And I remember the first time I ever got to bring it back from Dayton, and you know how we do it. And I was like 14, and looking back at it now, I'm like, what the fuck? 14 years old, like packing my dad's pack, and I.
Oh,
like,
you
now
were
I'm
like.
Yeah, I was like the suitcase.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And then I was like, this is fucking awesome. And now I'm just like,
At 14. So
Yeah.
at 14 your dad says like I need you to like
Hold this.
Yep,
hold
I
this.
need you to hold
and
this.
I'm assuming internally, right?
Yes.
How's that conversation go down?
Yeah.
I mean, it was normal for me. Like, I've seen my mom do it, you know what I mean? And so, like, I was like, I can't wait till I get to do that for him. Like, the power I'm going to feel like riding down the highway with this.
Like,
Like,
Wow.
yeah. And so when he finally let me, I'm like, I have arrived. This is it. So I'm like in the people's bathroom, like trying to, do the thing.
And what's your method? Like a
just,
condom?
No, just 2 baggies, 2 regular fold top baggies, just tie it up real tight, and in the chute she goes.
And you never worry about like
Yeah.
like what if these bags break inside of me?
I mean, I don't think at that point, like, I don't think I did really.
Just
It was
didn't
just
care?
like, no,
Just
I
like
just,
I'm the mule.
I don't think I ever considered it, like what could happen. I just thought like this is fucking awesome.
Did you get the rush from doing it, that adrenaline rush?
Oh, yeah,
Like
absolutely.
did you know that like if you got caught you'd be in a lot of trouble at 14? Like,
Oh, yeah,
Because that's
absolutely.
what gives you that like
Yeah.
adrenaline rush,
Oh, yeah.
that feeling.
Yeah, so backing up, I had my first SWAT experience when I was 12, 13. I remember before we went to sleep that night, we were like driving around town, me, my mom, and my dad, and we're in Chillicothe, and we passed like the old bus station, which is their like suit up shop, and we seen them all there, all the cops
That's
there.
where they get ready.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my dad's like, well, we're not going to get anything tonight just in case, but I don't think they're going to come to our house. So like I didn't even think twice about it, right? So we lived in a little 1-bedroom apartment there in the bedroom, and I'm on the couch sleeping. It's like 4:00 in the morning, and a flashbang comes through the window.
Wow.
And I like cover my face up with the blanket. I'm like, this this cannot be real. Like, my dad just said this is not happening.
That's not,
right
yeah, we're
now.
good.
Right. So, and then all of a sudden, like, so there's a door at the bottom of the steps, and then steps, and then another door. And all I hear is like, we're coming in, we're coming in. So I like cover my face back up, and I'm just laying there, like, not knowing what to do. When I finally like peek, there's like 15 guys in green suits. It's all I see. And they're like running through the house. They throw me off the couch and are like yelling, like, where's your mom and dad? And I'm like, they're in the bedroom. Like, don't know what to do. I'm like screaming and crying. My dad's like, it's okay, it's okay. And then they take us all outside. Mind you, I'm like 13. I've got on like little shorts, a tank top, no shoes. It's winter.
Oh.
And I'm like sitting on the ground in handcuffs, puking, crying, like, don't know what to do. And my dad's like talking shit to the SWAT teams, like, you're not going to find nothing in there. And she's like, we'll find it. And they're like destroying our whole house. I mean, when we went back in there, you know, I'm sure you guys know, like, fucking.
Yeah, they don't
demolished.
care.
Yeah, well, they don't care about.
Yeah, and they didn't find anything but the weed. And when we were walking back inside, my dad's like, thanks, bitch. Now I got to go find another bag of weed.
Ooh.
So, like, that's how I was, like, raised. Like, my dad he doesn't care what he says or who he says it to. And, like, that's what I wanted. Like, I want to live this, like, I don't give a shit lifestyle, right? And so that's what I chased after. However, they thought that I would be the drug dealer, not the drug
User.
user.
Yeah.
So that was a pretty big shock to them when they found that out.
When did you, obviously after you chugged the vaults,
Yeah.
when did you try drugs for the first time?
So after the vaults, I was probably 12. I started doing triple C's and Dramamine.
Okay. I don't know.
Is that codeine?
Yeah, the
Triple C's, like the pill?
yeah,
Oh,
cough,
okay.
and
Yeah.
cough and cold codeine medicine.
Oh, robo-tripping.
Yeah,
So
so
I
I'd
think
eat
that's
like
what they
3
call it.
boxes of those and anything to be outside of myself. So that started like when I was like 12 or 13. I started drinking right about the same time every weekend. I never had any real consequences for that, not for my parents anyways. I remember I'd get real drunk and the people that I was with, they'd drop me off at my parents the next morning and they'd like make fun of me and laugh at me, but like they just didn't care.
So they were cool with the drinking.
Yeah.
They
Like, I
didn't-
couldn't do it in front of them, but like they wasn't going to say anything
Right.
to me. And I mean, how could you really? You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, after all
Yeah,
this,
when you're
now gonna
asking your
say
daughter to
something?
like suitcase herself. with
Right.
And I'm sure at
cocaine.
some point you knew that too. Like, what the fuck are you gonna say to
Right.
me? Like,
Yeah, like, okay, like, you don't
Yeah.
want me to drink, but I can bring the pack back.
Yeah.
Like, that
Yeah.
makes a lot
That's
of
not
sense.
how that works. Yeah.
Right. I didn't start smoking weed till I was like probably 14, and the first time I did that, I was with my parents. We were on our way back from New York. My dad was going to do this like comedy show thing, and we got all the way up there, and he chickened out, and we turned back around.
Okay.
So I was pretty upset. So he's like, "Here, just hit this. You'll be fine." And I was like, "Okay, I will." And so that was my first experience with that. And then I started doing like Vicodin with my parents, with my dad specifically. We would just eat them like, we called them Skittles, and that's what, we just eat them like Skittles all day long.
And you dropped out of school.
Yeah, well, I was
So-
expelled,
okay.
and then I went to homeschooling. So I did
Okay.
graduate, but that was like the best thing that could have happened, right? Because I could just do what they're
whatever.
doing.
Your day just opened up.
Yeah, absolutely. So all day long, I'm like smoking weed, running packs to people, and I remember the first time that I like delivered a pack for somebody, which is ultimately ended up being the guy that I originally started doing heroin with. Surprise, surprise.
Small
But
world.
I remember I gave it to him, and I was like, so this is what it's like to be like a drug dealer. Like, I passed it off, and I'm like making sure nobody's looking, and he gave me the money, and I finally made it. Like, this is the life I've always wanted, and now I've got it. And I just thought, like, it was so, like, crazy to me. Like, all these other kids are going to school and doing all the things, and I'm just like...
So what is your, like, day-to-day like at that point if you're homeschool, which I have to assume that term is being used loosely.
Well, it was online schooling, so, like, they gave me my work for all year long, and, like, it was up to me to do it at my own pace. So I would, like, get really high and just do a bunch of it, and then I just not have to do any for weeks or however long. So my day-to-day life, I mean, we'd wake up at, 5, 6 in the morning, and I used to get so mad. My dad would make me clean the house as soon as we wake up, but he'd smoke with me afterwards. I'm like, I can do this.
All right.
I can handle this.
Means to an
So-
end.
Right.
Yeah.
So we would get up, we'd clean the house, and smoke a couple blunts, and I'd be like, all right, this is cool. I can do this. And then they'd always take a nap, so it'd be my job to listen for the phone, make sure if anybody calls, I would answer it, and I would get it ready. They would come to the house, and I would handle the business. And like it was it. Like I could have done that for the rest of my life and been fine with it.
And do you ever have any experiences with like crackheads at that point?
Oh yeah.
Because like, and what's that look like? You're a 13-year-old kid,
Yeah.
and then like, yeah, these zombie crackheads are
Yeah.
coming in like, hey man, let me get a 20.
Yeah, so there's this one specifically. He had a great job, but so when he got paid, it was like every Friday. It'd be him all day long. He'd get a 20, he'd leave, come back, knocking on the door all day long. And I was like, what is this guy doing? Like, why doesn't he just buy it all right
Yeah,
now?
yeah, man,
Like,
that's the $1 million question
Yeah.
right
Right,
there.
We've
yeah.
all been there.
God,
right.
I'm
and
just
I-
gonna buy
I
a
just
20.
couldn't understand, like, it wouldn't even be an hour and he would be back. So I'm like talking shit, like, what is this guy doing? And his jaw's like, the
Yeah.
jaw.
Locked up.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'm like, this shit is weird. So there were some others, they would call like all hours of the night, and my dad would they didn't have money, so I learned very on, like, if they don't have money, like, they're nobody. We only want the ones with the money.
With the money, yeah.
And I could tell, like, which ones it was. Like, at that age, I knew, like, who it was and who I was okay with and who I wasn't. Because if you're, like, the bottom of the barrel, like, I ended up being, like, I'm not going to deal with that. And then I would get on the phone and cuss them out, like, quit fucking calling. We don't have anything for
Wow.
you. Yeah, so, and I always thought that was great, too. Like, when they were asleep and I was the one who got to answer
Oh,
the
you had the
phone.
power over
Yeah, and
everybody.
I'm like, no, I don't think so. I'd tell them, like, yeah, we'll be there in 10 minutes, knowing, like, they're asleep, and we'll be there when we get there, if we come at all.
Did you ever have like you're a 13-year-old kid, like, if I'm a crackhead, like, you're easy target. You ever have any of those like close calls? Anybody testing you?
No, I won't say I did. At least not at my parents' house. When they caught me, like, out on the street by myself, they would make, like, slick comments. But from probably 14, I was already sleeping with grown men at that time.
Man.
None of the people that my dad knew, but I probably would have if they would have tried a little harder, to be honest. Because that was the life I wanted. Like, I thought I was a grown woman doing grown woman shit. And anything I could do to continue living that lifestyle, I would have probably.
So what happens next? And with your stepdad, does he ever find himself in prison? Does he get caught?
Yeah. So after the SWAT team ran into our house that time, it was probably a year later, I think. My dad sold to an undercover. And he ended up doing 2 years in prison at that point. And that's when I really, like, went off the deep end. I started doing pain pills, like, constantly, stealing them from my mom. And I remember one time I rode a bicycle out to my real dad's house because he was in the hospital at, like, I don't know, 3 in the morning, and, like, broke into his house and stole all of his Vicodin. It's like anything I could do to get it. Like, I didn't care. So my dad was in prison, and the family business kind of went downhill a little bit. So I had to figure out, like, I'm already...
Were you handling it at that point, or you and your mom?
Yeah, me and my mom was handling it at that point. But I guess she wasn't comfortable going up to Dayton like my dad was.
To pick up the plug,
right.
whatever, yeah.
Yeah, so, and at that point I think she was kind of scared too, because this was a long-time customer who apparently this whole time has been an undercover. So she was just kind of like off-put, like, now I don't know who to trust.
Not trusting anybody.
Right. So things went real downhill for a while. Well, for the business, not for me. I just picked up because my dad was like the enforcer as much as he could be, with the things he's already taught me. Like, there's not too much you can enforce, but, like, I didn't bring boys around him or, like, do anything like that. I was just there because I wanted to be around him, so I didn't have to worry about boys or anything when he was there. So once he went to prison, I met my first husband, and then I kind of separated from my mom a little bit, and she was doing what she was doing, and I was on to, like, my own thing. I was no longer doing the drug dealing. I became a drug addict. And at first it was pain pills. As much as I remember, me and my ex-husband, we would go to the dentist and, like, get our like, back teeth pulled out to get Vicodin.
Just to get Vicodin?
Just to get Vicodin.
And
he
then,
would do it once, and then I would do it the next time. He would do it, and I was like...
Are you going to the same dentist?
Yeah.
Just different molars?
Yeah.
They don't.
Yeah,
they don't give you a ton of Vicodin for
No,
that
it's like they
either.
give you, like,
12.
yeah.
Yeah.
Man,
Yeah.
all that for some Vicodin.
Yeah, all that
I mean, I
for
get it,
I
though.
do too.
Yeah.
And then when you wouldn't have money to get it filled, you're like, now what do I got to do?
And like, I got to sell half of them to
Right.
get the money to, yeah.
So stupid.
So then how old are you when you get married to this guy?
So I met him when I was 16,
Jeez.
and I got married 12 days after my 18th birthday.
Okay.
My dad was still in prison at this time. He done 2 years. So I was probably like 15, 16, right when he went to jail and in prison after that.
Are you communicating with him like on a daily basis and like sending him money and all that stuff?
Yeah, well, so my mom's doing all the money. I'm going every weekend to see him, so like 8 hours, and he was in Orient, so that's what my weekend looks like, is 8 hours in Orient doing a visit. And I still thought that was kind of cool, like I'm going to the prison.
Go
And
see dad at prison, yeah.
yeah, and then there's inmates that are asking about me, like after I leave. You know, my dad telling me like I was going to fuck this guy up. He's asking about my daughter. I'm like, oh, you know, I did look pretty cute.
Yeah,
So,
I did
what
go
can I
in
say?
there
Interesting.
flaunting my stuff.
Right. So, and like I just thought that was so great. Like all these older men, like they're convicts and they want to know about me. Like
Man,
a
girl.
dream come true, right?
Yeah.
And now I think about it, it's just like, what in the fuck? Like I would kill somebody if they tried that shit with my daughter. Like any of the shit that I've done, like I will murder them. So yeah, like I said, I got married, and my ex-husband, oh god, such a scum. He is not.
Is he still
good.
around?
He is still around.
Okay.
He's falling off currently as
Okay.
we speak. He just took me to court for custody of the kids and.
Like
all
he
the
wants
things.
custody of the kids?
Yeah, so that's what he took me to court for. I actually, my first round of court was when I was still in treatment, but I just got finished with the second round of court, and he wants full custody. That's all he wants. He's not giving up. He wants full custody. Well, he didn't get it, and so now he doesn't even get what he was given. Like he won't take it. He's supposed to get him like every other weekend from Thursday to Monday, Wednesday evenings until Thursday morning. Doesn't do it at
He
all.
won't do it.
So like you wasted all my time,
Yeah.
all my money.
You have full custody?
Yeah, I have full custody now.
Congratulations.
Thank you, I appreciate it. It's been a long time coming.
It has.
But yeah, I guess I should have known like what he was going to turn out to be. Like I used to watch him like beat the shit out of his mom and all types of stuff, and I was like, this is fine. This is
So,
normal.
yeah.
What did you guys do together? Like, how does that relationship go? I have to imagine extremely toxic.
Oh yes, so toxic. In the beginning, it was. Well, we met because I was hanging out with my girlfriends, and none of them knew how to roll blunts. And of course, my dad taught me. So I was the only one who knew how to roll when they had the weed. So they called me like, "Hey, we've got some weed. We don't know how to roll it. Can we pick
Let's
you up?"
go.
And I'm like, "Hell yeah!" So when they picked me up, my soon-to-be husband is the one driving. So that's where I meet him at, and he had a job, he had a car, and he had money, obviously, because he bought the weed. So I'm like, this could go okay. Because I was taught, like, you don't get with a scrub. Like, you want somebody
Right.
that's
Yeah,
got
yeah.
money.
Yeah.
You know, and so I was like, okay, this will be all right. Well, it wasn't. He didn't have the job for probably 2 months after that. Wrecked the car. So it was like, went to shit so quick.
Real fast.
Yeah, real fast. And you thought I would have learned, like, you know, the shit he was doing at that point, like, get out now, but I didn't. So they said we were doing pain pills, Vicodin, perks, anything we could get our hands on, alcohol.
What year was this?
This was 2012, I
Okay.
think, is when I got married. Yeah. So, like, from 2012 to 2017, I was with this fucking loser.
For 5 years.
Yeah, for 5 years. And it just got worse and worse and worse.
So
I
if
remember...
You're doing painkillers in 2012. I have to imagine heroin's not far behind that.
Yeah, no.
Or fentanyl.
Yeah, it wasn't far behind, a few years behind. At least when I tried. I didn't start, like, doing it heavy until 2019. But my first experience with it was in 2017. When I couldn't get any pain pills with him. And I didn't really like it then. So I don't know I know
how
what
it turned
happened.
for you?
Yeah, I don't really know. It turned. When it turned quick, though.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, life with him, it was real shitty. We had our first son, and he was just real abusive, real fucking mean, and just not good. I was working 2 jobs, pregnant, in the snow, riding a bicycle from one side of Chillicothe to the other to go to work while he sat at home playing video games, spending my paycheck before I even brought it home.
Well, are you popping pills the whole pregnancy too?
So no, not with my 2 boys. I didn't do anything. I was able to stop completely. With my daughter, I wasn't so lucky.
How was that? I'm curious because, you know, obviously as a woman you get pregnant and you decide to get clean for your kid while you're pregnant. How hard or not hard was that? Because I don't know if I could do it
Yeah.
back when I was using. I don't know if I'd be able to stop.
Yeah. With my first son, it was easy. I was real excited about I had already lost 2 babies prior to this. I had 2 miscarriages. So when I was pregnant with him, with my first son, Ernie, I was just like, I was done. I was ready to do what I had to do. I was so upset about my miscarriages. I'm like, I'm going to bring a baby home this time. So I was able to stop. The alcohol was probably the hardest thing at that point. I remember like having my ex-husband drink it and then me kissing him just so I could like taste it. Like,
Nice. Wow.
yeah, that was definitely
Damn.
the worst part. I think I might have still smoked weed, but no like pills or drinking at that point.
And did you go through like detox of any kind, or are you like still just sporadically
yeah.
popping pain pills?
Yeah, so I didn't do any like detox or anything with the pain pills. I wasn't so bad off on them at that point that I experienced any type of withdrawals. I was just doing them any chance I could get.
Okay.
The first thing I ever withdrew off of was, damn, I lost the name of it. It was not a pain pill. Neurotins.
Neurotins. Oh,
Neurotins.
man.
I was eating
you-
like 40 of them at a time, 800 milligrams at a time.
Can you get sick from those?
It's not like a fentanyl or a like alcohol, but I remember waking up at like 3 a.m, crying, shaking. Like I had to drive from Circle to Chillicothe because I like could not function.
God.
So it was like 2 days of just absolute hell. And I think you're supposed to take like 800 milligram 3 times a day, and I was handfuls 3-4 times a day. So I mean it makes perfect sense. But yeah, that was the first thing I ever withdrew off of, and it was not fun.
You really would just take anything you can get your fucking hands on.
Anything I could get my
Anything-
hands
yeah.
on. There was a point
Vaults
in
and fucking neurons.
yeah, there was a point in time I was doing air duster, air freshener.
Air freshener.
Air freshener.
What is that?
Yeah.
I was like huffing. I'd put a wash rag over the air freshener and huff it. Same way you would do air duster, but only with air freshener.
Smelling good.
Yeah, smelling real good.
What?
Yeah.
How's that? Because like the whatever it's called, the
Like Febreze,
nitrous?
basically?
No, like the air, like the
Like the not Febreze because that's
Fresh
not
Sense
aerosol, but
or-
like whatever the cheap ones are that like spray, that type of spray. not
Okay.
Like
where
the
you push
pump
the button
handle.
down on the top. Oh,
Yeah.
that one.
Like yeah, you push the button
Yeah,
down and
yeah,
it like
okay.
shh,
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
actual aerosol, not
I
like the
didn't even know
Febreze
you
where
could
you like.
huff that.
I didn't
Oh
either.
yeah, oh yeah. You put an air or not air freshener, a washcloth over top of it and just.
And you taste the air freshener?
Oh yeah, it was not good. It was
Oh,
not good. I remember me
boy.
and my friend, we went and bought like a whole 24 pack of washcloths from we stole them from Family Dollar, and we got like 8 bottles of air freshener, and we went to the flood wall, broad daylight outside. I was probably 14 at this time, and we sat by a tree right by the flood wall, like not even trying to be discreet about it, just huffing
Just
away.
huffing air
People
freshener.
walking by and everything, and all I hear is
Oh,
wah wah wah
God.
wah.
My
Like,
God.
this is
That
normal
is the
shit.
first. I've never heard of anybody.
No, I know the air
snort-
duster.
The duster, yeah.
Yeah,
But
same
yeah.
concept, but that's more expensive and harder to steal. The air freshener, it's a lot smaller.
And nobody's thinking like when you're
Right.
going to the Dollar Tree, like, oh, this is a high. People
Right.
get high on this. So
Yeah, nobody ever.
Wow.
My
Damn.
mom found that one out. She was not happy. It was pretty embarrassing.
about
Her-
the air duster or the air freshener
Yeah, the
habit.
air freshener.
How'd that go down?
So her and my dad were in a car wreck, like, I don't know, like 6 months prior to this. They hydroplaned. He broke his neck and had on a halo.
Oh,
And she, like, got some brain aneurysms. And she had that on, like, a neck brace and was walking with a cane and stuff. And my dad was gone with another woman at this point. So it was just me and my mom. So I didn't care. So when people, like, obviously seen us, they called the cops. And they went and got my mom. So here I am, like, sitting on this hill, broad daylight, with a can of air freshener and a washcloth. And here comes my mom with a cane and her neck brace walking up this hill. And I'm like, this isn't good. She's like, what the fuck are you doing? I'm like, nothing. I'm not doing nothing. like
Chilling.
trying to, like, put the cans behind me.
God,
And there's,
that would be embarrassing.
yeah, it was not fun. Frozen washcloths everywhere.
oh my.
And it's, like, I don't know why. Broad fucking daylight. It never even crossed my mind. Like, maybe we shouldn't do this here. We should probably, like,
Find a better spot.
right. And we're right by the woods, like, so many woods. And here I am just, like, it's no big deal.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's so sickening. But, all she said, we lived across the street from a cop. She was like, I'm going to have Ian come over and talk to you, give you a real good talking
Scary
about why.
straight.
No real consequences.
Yeah, I'm like, you think that's going to scare me? Like, come on now. So, yeah, it went from the Vault, Triple C's, Dramamine, air freshener, Perks, Vicodin. But then I started doing the cocaine. My dad's out of prison now, and it's back to the family business. And I'd already tried cocaine with my husband at this point, and I liked it a lot. And I could see why they was coming back.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
You talking
every
about powdered or
hour. Yeah, powder.
Okay.
Okay.
I've done crack a few times. Not really my vibe.
No.
I like the whole nose thing, I
Okay.
guess. So my dad, he didn't know I was doing it though. So him and my mom would go to Vegas, and they'd leave me in charge to handle the business, and he would leave me with like an ounce and come back, and it's like, you know, like 10 grams short of cocaine filled with baking soda.
Yeah, cut the fuck.
Yeah. He never said anything to me though. But I mean, I'm sure he knew. Maybe not though, because by that point, most of his good customers fell off, so it was just like the bottom of the barrel at this point. So like they didn't give a shit, you know. But yeah, I can't believe he never said nothing to me. That's wild when I think about it. But yeah, I would steal it as much as I could get. It'd start with I'll just get a little bit, and then, you know, an hour later I'm back in there
Yeah.
getting
yeah.
another
And that would be,
spoonful.
yeah.
Yeah. So I would have to leave to like make sure I didn't take any more. So I'm like, I know, like if he does say anything, like he's gonna be pissed.
Oh, yeah.
It's not gonna be good. But yeah.
How much free cocaine do you think you got from your dad?
Oh
in
God.
Just
that
from
time?
pinching, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Probably. I don't even know. Well over probably 2 ounces. Easy.
Jesus.
Easy. Yeah, because I done this for probably, I don't know, 2.5 years.
Years.
I was
Golly.
hitting the bag. Yeah, any chance I could get. And he'd always hide it in under the mattress, really.
Yeah, come
But
on.
he didn't suspect, I don't think. So he didn't think he had to hide it from me, right? Or I was like, okay, we'll find out.
So he doesn't know you're like, you're doing
Yeah, he has-
lines and a cokehead now.
Yeah, he has no idea. So, yeah, I did that for a while. Me and my ex-husband, we got divorced. He was arrested for hurting my son in 2017.
God.
So I lost custody of my kids. Through that whole thing, they thought that I knew that he was hurting my son and that I didn't do anything about it. So once I lost custody of my kids, that's when I tried heroin for the first time. Things took a real deep dive. It was not good. I got my first DUI at that point. I had a breathalyzer in my car. I had an ankle monitor, scram bracelet on.
Was that your first time in any legal trouble?
Yeah, my first time.
How old were you?
So at this point I was 19 or 20, I think.
So you made it through all those years doing all that shit without any trouble?
Yeah. Well, I went to JDC when I was a kid, but that was for running away.
Okay.
So nothing serious. I didn't think it was anyways. It was like 10 days, no big deal.
No
But,
biggie.
my first real trouble with the law was my DUI. And I remember they pulled me over, and it was these two fucktards that I went to school with. And
That's
so,
always
like,
the worst.
yeah, I'm like, you guys are. I went to school with you. You were fucking nerds then. You're still.
Wow.
Like, I'm not gonna fucking listen to you.
And they were cops.
Yeah, cops. They called themselves Bert and Ernie, and I was like, you fucking look like Bert and Ernie. Like, I'm not doing this. So I remember when they walked up to the car, I still had an open container, so I like left my window up, and I'm like chugging it, and he's just like standing at the window, just shaking his head, and I'm like, what do you want me to do? Like,
Yeah, I'm caught at this
right,
point.
like I'm going to continue to drink
Yeah.
it. And I remember calling my dad first I called my Uncle Johnny from jail. And I'm like, you're going to have to come get me out. Like, I don't know what to do. And he called my dad. And my dad, like, tried to be mad about it. Like, again, at this, you can't be mad.
Right.
Like,
when,
what are you
yeah,
going to
when
do?
SWAT's hit your fucking house with your
Right.
baby daughter in
Yeah.
the house, like,
Right.
you can't really be mad for a
Yeah.
DUI.
And then it just became a joke. Like, here I am, DUI. I got a breathalyzer in my car, fucking scram brace. Well, the scram was after my second DUI, which was not even a year later.
Damn.
So, yeah, I ended up trying to get clean to get my kids back. They lived with my brother during that time. So in the beginning, like 8 months, I just went real hard, real big alcoholic, in the bar every night, going home from the bar with a different guy every night. Like, I gave no fucks at this point.
So you would switch the drugs for just booze and
Yeah.
whatever?
Yep. At that point, like, it didn't matter what it was, as long as I had something. Until I got to the heroin, it didn't really matter
Yeah.
to me.
Anything will do.
Yeah, anything will do. And I would drink, from the time I woke up until 3, 4 in the morning. And I would be drinking at work. I worked at Golden Corral at the front, like, cash register. So I'd fill those big, like, 40-ounce cups up with booze. And it my life was just a party. My kids were gone, so like it sucked, but it
But
was
Didn't
have to
also
worry
like
about
also
them,
like
yeah, like,
responsibility
I'm
free.
free.
Yeah.
I only had my 2 boys at that point. My daughter was not born, so I was like, this is like it sucks, and I'm sad about it.
But like I could drink.
right,
I'll be okay.
I can party and not have to worry about what I do. So it was like, hell yeah. So I didn't really take it serious. And they were with my brother. So I'm like, they're safe. Like, they're with their cousins. And, like, it's fine. It's all fine.
It's all good, yeah.
I remember going to, like, the children's services, like, visits. And I'm, like, counting down the time. Like, I feel bad about it now. But I'd be, like, watching the phone. They were only an hour. And I'm like, this cannot fucking happen soon enough. Like, I'm ready to go return to my, not mom life and drink and party and do the things.
Right.
So, yeah, I did that. They were in like a custody of children's services for probably like 2 years, I think. And the whole time, up until like the last 6 months, I was just going real hard with the drinking and partying. I had divorced my husband while he was in jail for hurting my son.
What
so
was
I
he doing to your son? Like just being like physically abusive?
So, well, the story behind that is my son, Colson, he was like 4 or 5 months old. Me and my husband were both alcoholics at that point, but he was like a mean alcoholic. And I remember it was snowing outside, and my sister picked me up to take me to Circleville. We lived in Asheville to get some groceries, and I left the kids with him. And he kept telling me to like take him, and I'm like, no, like put your fucking video game controller down and
Be
take
a dad
your kids.
for
right,
an
like,
hour.
Right, it's not that hard. And I remember on the way back, he called me on my sister's phone because we were so fucked up by this point. We didn't have phones, like barely paying our rent, like we didn't have anything. So he called my sister's phone. And he's cussing me out, like the baby won't stop fucking crying. I told you not to leave him here, like going off and demanding that like I bring weed home to him. But I never would have thought like that he's going to like hurt my kid. I never would have thought that. So we get home and my son's fine. Like he looks fine. He's not crying. Like I never thought about it again. And then fast forward to May 12th, 2017, we dropped the kids off at the babysitter's house who we met at work. They were pretty cool, but we were getting high with them, doing perks and drinking. But I wasn't like running background checks on these people. Like I didn't care, honestly. You know what I mean? Like I did care. I didn't want anything to happen to them, but I was so fucked up. Like I didn't care. So we dropped the kids off at the babysitter's, and me and him went to work, and I remember it came across the intercom, Bridget Shoemaker, you got to call on line 101. So I work in a metal fabricating factory at that time, so I like walked through all these presses, not even thinking like what's about to happen on the phone, right? And I pick up the phone, and it's the husband of the babysitter, and he's like, I dropped the fucking baby. And I'm like, what? And then he hung up the phone.
Oh.
So I go get my husband because we work together because I wasn't allowed to not work with him. And we go down there, and my son's like being life flighted to Children's. And long story short, they done like an MRI, and he had one old brain injury and one new brain injury at 4 months old. Both the retinas in his eyes were completely detached. He had a fractured shin bone. He had bleeding through every single layer in his eye.
Jesus.
He had 2 subdermal hematomas and like a fractured like neck. I don't know what you call it, but like where your neck is like attached to your head.
Yeah.
That was like fractured. They said it was like he was thrown off a 12-story building. Like he shouldn't be here.
4 months old.
At 4 months old, he had shaken baby syndrome.
Wow.
So at first I was like oblivious. Like obviously, like I knew the babysitters had done something because he was fine when we dropped him off, right? So I knew something, but then they said the old brain injury. And I was like, all I could think about was that time when he called me and was like, the baby won't stop fucking crying.
Oh.
And I still to this day, I don't know. Like, are they both from the babysitter? Did he do that? I don't know. So we both ended up getting polygraphed by the Circleville Police Department. And questioned, and I remember the detective come and got me and said he has something he needs to say to you.
The husband.
My husband. So I went back there, and he's like giving all these different things about what could have happened or when it could. Maybe I laid him down too hard, or maybe I was bouncing him too hard, or all these things. And like I was like so like I didn't know what to do. Like I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to think. All I know is like my kids were fine when I went to work, and now like he's in the hospital with a fucking neck brace on and tubes, and like I don't know what to do. But so he was arrested that day and charged with felony child abuse.
Oh
and,
my.
Yeah.
I ended up filing for divorce the very next day.
Good for you.
He had already been like abusing me at that point, so it was like my out. You know, he was in jail, and I knew like this was, if I was going to leave, like this was my time.
Now is your the prime
Yeah.
opportunity.
Yep, and I did it. I didn't think I was ever going to get out of it. So I mean, I'm sad like what happened to my son happened, but in the same sense, I'm like, if this wouldn't have happened, like it's hard to tell what would have.
Right.
You know, so it's like bittersweet. Like we're free. Like we're out of this very toxic, abusive relationship. But now, like my son is like off the hook now. So I'm like, is this
Is that
like
why?
right? Like, is this something to do with it? Like, I don't know. So yeah, he was in jail for like 7 months on those charges, and then they dismissed them because they couldn't. They said with the technology that they have today, which makes no sense, that they can't pinpoint the day that it happened. So they don't know, was it the babysitters or was it him? Yeah, so just gone. Like, nothing ever happened from that. So I was very angry. You know, like, and then he took me to court for this.
The
like,
gall of that.
Right.
Like the balls you have to.
Right. Yeah, and he still, anytime he talks to me, it's not as much now, but he's like, you know I didn't do that, right? And I'm like,
No.
like,
right.
I don't
Yeah.
Didn't you
Can't
not
say
though?
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it just doesn't like. And why we're in 2024 now? Like, why are you still saying that? Like guilty conscience,
Yeah.
maybe.
Jesus, man.
So yeah, that was a rough time period for me. Like I said, I didn't have my kids, so it was party on. But I ended up getting my stuff together, and I got my kids back.
Yeah. What was your bottom, or when did you turn that corner? Or what did that look like when you made an effort?
Well, so my brother and sister-in-law, I ended up becoming very angry at them while they had my kids. They were just like they seen what I was doing and they weren't happy about it. They couldn't figure out like why I wasn't doing everything I could to get my kids back. But I mean, I was doing the bare minimum. But, you know, they've got kids, and they could never imagine. You know, they're like the perfect parents.
Yeah.
You know, she's a nurse, and he's worked at the same job for 15 years. They're the ideal family.
Right.
So they just couldn't understand. So they started, like, talking shit to me all the time. And eventually they got to the point where they were like, we don't want these kids anymore.
Oh.
So my kids went to foster care with this Amish couple. And that's when I was like, okay, like, maybe I should, like, get serious.
Amish people.
Yeah.
I didn't see that coming. Sorry for laughing there.
They were really sweet, to be honest. But yeah, it was very. I remember I went to a children's services visit, and my kids had the Amish bowl cuts, like up to here. I'm like, this.
Are they coming to the hearing in a horse and buggy?
No,
Not
I
that
guess they were
kind of
like
Amish.
Mennonites.
Okay.
Because they drove, but they were the first two foster kids that the couple ever had, and they like wanted them. Like I remember once I got them back, the Amish wife was like, if you decide you don't want them, we'll take them. And I'm like, bitch.
Yeah, it's not how it works.
No.
It's kids, people.
Yeah. So
You
not,
change your mind.
Yeah.
Right. Like, no, thank you. But I remember during this process, after they had went to the Amish people, I was still having to drug test for children's services and stuff. And I remember the night before court, I got like real fucked up, so fucked up. And I was like panicking, like, I know I'm going to be drug tested. What am I going to do? So my friend peed in a 5-hour energy bottle. And I practiced all night long, like, I used water at that time, but like
Keeping
putting it
it warm.
inside me and like walking around with it, like, you know. So I like thought I had it in the bag. Like, I'm going to go up here, I'm going to get drug tested, and I've got this. So I missed court. I was late for court because I was hungover, right? So, and I was so mad at them, like,
the
because
court.
I missed court.
Yeah.
The children's services caseworker, she was like, you just need to go to my office. You knew what time court was. And I was like, no, I didn't. But I was like, you know, excuses. So I went to the children's services building to do my drug test. And I was like, all right, this is it. Like, we've been planning this. We've been doing it all night. Like, now's
Game
my time
time
to shine. So I remember I sat on the toilet, and she's, like, standing right
they're
in
in there
front of
with
me.
you.
Oh, yeah. And she's watching me, so I'm sitting there, and I'm just, like, you know, trying to... And I had, like, aluminum foil, like, on the top of it, so I'd, like, pop it with my fingernail to, like, make the pee come out. But I drove from Chillicothe to Circleville with it in me.
In you.
So it
Keep
had,
it
like,
warm.
rode way too far up by the time I needed to pee.
Oh.
So I'm sitting on the toilet. She's watching me, like, just waiting, and I, like, can't get it to come down. You know, because I don't want to, like, be sitting there.
You can't be
Yeah.
like fingering
Yeah.
yourself in
Right,
front of this
right,
lady
while holding the
while
cup.
the cup. Yeah.
Yeah, so I, like, got the cup with 2 fingers, and I'm, like, trying. I'm, like, pushing, like, trying. It's not coming out. So I'm, like, sitting there, and I'm telling her, like, I don't know what to do. Like, my stomach's upset. Like, I can't use the bathroom right now. And finally, I got it, but I dropped it in the toilet.
Oh no.
So I'm like, but I was able to catch it, so you didn't hear like a splash,
plump.
and I like let it like slide down into the toilet, like so she didn't know. But I'm like, now what am I going to do? Like, I'm shaking at this point. Like, I'm just going to have to tell her like what I've done and that I was about to like.
It's also a
do-
felony if you get caught doing that.
Yeah, and I didn't know that it was a felony, but I knew like if she finds out, like I'm not going to
You're
get my
you
kids
ain't getting
back.
them kids back.
Yeah, so I'm like, what am I going to do? Here I've got this bottle of pee sitting in toilet water now. And she's like, and she was not nice. And she's just staring at me. Like, you can tell she's annoyed at this
So you've already
point.
given the sample.
No.
No, okay.
No, I
It
couldn't.
just
Slid
fell
out.
into the toilet without
Yeah.
you being able to pop it.
Yep. So
Oh.
now I just got a 5-hour energy bottle in the toilet, no pee in the cup,
Oh,
and I don't know what to do. And I had an appointment for Metropolitan Housing right after this that she got me because she got me like a reunification grant. So like because court said that I needed to have a home for my kids to come home to, it bumped me up to the top of the Section 8
okay.
list. So I knew that was like my excuse to get out of there. You know, she was like, well, you need to go to this appointment. You're going to be late. You can't miss it. So you're going to have to come back later to do this drug test. So I was like, yes. Because I was like, 2 seconds away from
Yeah.
telling her, like, look, this is what it
Yeah.
is. And I'm like, thank you, God. Like, you saved me. I knew you'd come
Thanks,
through.
God.
So she was like, well, I'll give you some time to, clean yourself up and, I'll be back. So she went out. So I like hurried up and grabbed the toilet water and like shoved the motherfucker
Wait,
back
oh,
in
did you
there.
wash it off first?
Oh,
Or would
Nope.
you just
I
went
was-
right back in? So
yep,
panicked, you just
yep,
right back in.
back in there. I'm like, okay.
Good for you, you savage you.
Yeah, think about it now. I'm like, yuck, like it's so gross. I just couldn't get over like how close I was to telling on myself, and it was like there was a light. God, yeah,
no
that-
judgment here. No
right.
judgment here. I get
Yeah.
It was
it. Probably would have done the same thing.
it was so wild.
Wow.
Yeah. I never went back that day to take the drug test either. She was like, you need to come back after this appointment, and I'm like, I can't do it.
Yeah.
So I ended up getting the house that she was trying to get for me, and I got my kids back, my boys at this time. And that's when the Amish lady was like, if you ever change your mind, we'll take them back.
We'll take 'em.
Like, I bet you will. No, thank you. So I kept it together for about, God, I don't know. I got them back in November. So I had a 1 8-hour visit with them, an overnight visit with them, and then they just gave them back to me full time.
Wow.
After not having them for 2 years.
Wow.
And I was 32 weeks pregnant with Keelani.
Wow.
So I went from having no kids, like living the life for the past 2 years, to now having 2 kids and about to pop out a
On the
third
way.
by myself. At least when me and my ex-husband were together, like he was there. But now I'm like a single mom with 3 kids.
Yeah.
So that was rough, real rough. And it didn't take long for me to fall back off. It was probably 6 months. That's when I started doing the gabapentin and Neurotins. And I was like, well, this is fine. Like, I'm not doing drugs. The children's services case was closed, so nobody's, like, drug
Right.
testing me at this
Don't have
point.
to worry about that.
Right. So I'm like, I can handle Neurotin and 3 kids.
Mm-hmm.
But then I started drinking again. So I was doing, like, 6 tall boys a night. And, I done that for probably, 5 or 6 months. And then I found meth for the first time.
Really?
And that was, like, the holy grail. Like,
You
these
loved it?
I loved it, yes. And I was only smoking it and snorting it at this point. I wasn't a needle user yet.
Yet.
But I was like, I can take care of my kids, not go to sleep, and be fine.
Yeah.
I wasn't working because I had the Section 8 voucher. So, I was back to living, not the dream that I wanted to live with my parents, but, the welfare dream. I don't have to
Don't
work.
have to do anything.
Right, I
Yeah.
can sit and do drugs and let my kids run rampant, and, this is it. So that went on for, probably 7 or 8 months. I was doing meth all the time, anytime I could get. And I had a newborn baby and, my 2 boys, which they were pretty well behaved at this point because they'd been with the Amish and they
Ain't fucking
don't-
around.
Yeah, they didn't tolerate no nonsense. So I was like, this is, I can deal with this. But the meth, really, made me, really nuts.
And now
Paranoid.
I'm assuming you're staying up for days upon days, right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
days on end. And I lived like in a duplex, like with one on the. I
Oh,
was
so
up
you're hearing
top.
people on the other side
Yeah, so
plotting against you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had this neighbor. His name was Oddly Toy, so I should have knew like
That's
something.
his real name.
That's his real name, and I was like, "This is fine. This is what normal people are named, right?"
Oddly Toy.
What the fuck?
Yeah, it was so weird. But I was convinced that he was trying to kill me. So my best friend, childhood best friend, she was coming up to the house often, and we was doing the ice together. And I devised a plan to catch this guy trying to kill me. So like, anytime he would hear like one set of footsteps going down the steps, he would immediately pop outside. But if he heard two sets of footsteps, he wouldn't come out. So I'm like, all right, I've got the perfect plan. I'm going to set my phone up to record. Me and my best friend, we're both going to walk down the steps together, but then you're going to like turn around and act like you're walking back up while I record, so like we can make sure that this is real life happening. And so sure enough, like we both and we stomp down the steps to make sure he can hear like both of us coming. And we get outside and I've got my phone set up to record and nothing happens. So I'm like, okay, like it's just the meth. I'm tripping. So she like slams the door and stands at like the two bottom steps and like, acts
Does
like
the
she's
whole
walking
day,
up
yeah.
It's not even 30 seconds later this guy comes out. And I'm like, I knew I wasn't.
Fucking knew it.
I knew I wasn't crazy. But I couldn't tell, like, at this point, like, I feel like I have head lice real bad and there's mice in my house everywhere. Like, I'm like picking my hair. I don't have head lice, mind you, but the ice is like, I've literally got like chunks of hair missing and I'm petrified of mice. Like, and I feel like they're everywhere in my house. Everywhere I look, there's
Are
a
they
mouse.
actually in there?
There were some, but not to
Not
the
as many
extreme.
as
Not
you
like
thought.
what you think is going
Yeah,
on.
like my friend like did catch like two of them like by hand, so that like validated
Oh,
the
yeah.
fact that they are everywhere.
You're totally right, Bridget. We have mice everywhere. In here.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I like fell down these steps, like the whole flight of steps trying to get away from a mouse that I'm not sure whether it was or was not.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was like that for months. Like the mice and the head lice and the guy trying to kill me downstairs, I lived like that for months.
That was your life.
So you're a mess.
Yeah.
Right now.
But I think I'm fine.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I think I'm great. My kids, they go to a Christian daycare that I have to drop them off to and pick them up to every morning. And in the beginning, it was I'm like, I can do this. Like, nobody knows anything. But it got to the point that I was having other people drive me in my van to go pick them up. And I would, like, lay down in the back seat so nobody could see me while she went in to get them. Because I was just, like, so
Jesus.
far gone. I was like, they can't see me like this. Like, they're going to call CPS again. Like,
Yeah.
that was my biggest fear. Like,
Losing
CPS.
the kids.
Yeah, I'm like, I cannot. It was hell the first time. Like, I cannot do this a second time. So I would do anything. Well, not anything, obviously. But in my mind, I was doing anything I could to prevent that from happening.
Except getting clean.
Right.
Yeah, except for
ex-
doing what I'm supposed to do.
Yep, anything but that. Doing it sneakily so people think I'm clean,
Yeah.
but I don't have to be. And I thought I was doing a great job at it. I look back now at the pictures, and I'm just like,
Yeah, people probably had an idea that something wasn't normal.
yeah.
I would absolutely love to see a picture of you with like the missing chunks in your hair.
Oh, I'm
yeah,
sure
that would be good.
I've got plans. I mean, you've seen my fentanyl videos.
Oh,
right?
yeah, I have. Yeah, I have.
Yeah.
Love those.
I look back now, and I'm like, I
did
thought I looked great.
How do you think you're fooling anybody? Yeah.
I thought I was for sure. Like, I thought, like, you couldn't tell me nothing. Like, I was doing the thing. So, yeah, I did this for probably, I kept my custody of my kids back for probably, I don't know, 8 months. And then my grandpa, bless his heart, he bought me a house in Chillicothe.
Wow. Bought you a house
Bought me a house.
while you're on meth.
Well, he didn't know.
Well, I understand that,
yeah.
but
Yes, while I was on meth and a severe alcoholic. Like I said, 6 tall boys a night. Like, severe.
bro, can you imagine being strung out and just getting a fucking
And-
house?
And like,
Dog.
how does Grandpa afford that?
My grandpa, he's got mad.
A house,
he's
dog.
Yeah, I know. Like,
A whole
hey,
fucking house.
I see you doing what you're supposed to be doing over here, Bridget. I'm gonna get you this
Like, you don't
house.
just get houses anyway, but like fucking
yeah.
strung out. Here's a house.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
That's asshole backwards and a dumb luck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so before he bought me the house, I met my second. Well, I already knew my second husband. I met him like years prior, but like he was in prison.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
I was doing the whole
you gotta-
pen pal prison
okay.
thing, and he got out of prison. I went and picked him up, and we got married in a mosque like 3 months later.
In a mosque?
Yeah, he's Muslim.
Oh boy. Okay.
So now,
Probably became Muslim in prison.
In prison?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and his name was Scooter. Rest in peace. We did the thing. He was clean at this point. I never even knew that he did drugs besides like drink, a little bit of cocaine and weed. Like I had no idea that he was into other stuff. At this point, I still wasn't doing heroin. I done it that one time, but that was it. And I had to stop doing meth because I didn't want him to know like that I was a fucking meth
A
addict.
tweaker.
So my grandpa buys us this house. We moved to Chillicothe, and it needs a lot of work. So we're doing the things, and my grandpa's buying all the material to fix it up. And it took, I don't know, a couple months, but I still have my kids at this point, and I'm doing good. I'm fixing the house. I'm like this is it. Like my grandpa bought me a house. I can finally like get my life back together. And so things are good. And then my husband decides that he wants to get back to his drug dealing
Okay.
days. That's what he was in prison for. And I'm like, no, fuck that. Like, I'll be damned. I'm not going to tolerate that.
Not around my kids.
Yeah. So we separate, and he goes his own way, and I stay at the house with the kids, and I'm still drinking very heavy, 6, 8 tall Bud Ice at that. Bud Ice, tall boys a night. But I still feel like things are good. I'm working at the gas station, and things are good, relatively good. And at this point, like I said, I quit doing meth. So, like, in Chillicothe, I didn't even know where to get it at this point. But so my husband's gone, and probably 3 or 4 months go by, and I'm working at the gas station. And the guy that I told you that I first delivered the pack to for my dad comes into the gas station. And he's like 43 years old, and what was I thinking? I don't know. Other than now he's a drug dealer instead of a crackhead. So I was like that was my goal. Like if I can't be with the plug himself, I want to be like with the plug's best friend.
Yeah.
So like I always have access, and I wanted to be a goonette, right? And that was my only way to do that. So I get with this guy, and things are good at first. He's bringing me pills because I'm back on pills, and I'm drinking. He's buying me beer and buying me Percocets, 30s at this point. But I'm still maintaining. Like, I've still got my kids. I'm taking them to school every day. Things are good. Well, then one night we're laying on my couch, and I find out he's doing heroin. And he's like, I'm going to be nice, and I'm not going to use a needle this time.
How do you find that out?
So he goes to the bathroom and comes back and is fucked up.
So like falling out.
Falling
nodding.
out, fucked up. And so I'm asking him, like, what did you just go do? And he tells me, like, you know, I done some heroin. So I'm like crying, like, no, like I can't believe this. And a couple hours go by, and I'm like, it's fine. Like, it's like as long as you maintain, like I can deal with this. And so then that's when he says to me, like, well, I'm going to be nice, and I'm not going to shoot it up this time. And that like cued the waterworks again, because I'm like, you use needles, like this is terrible. And so I was devastated. Like, you know, obviously you're not who I thought you were. You're a not a crackhead, but
As
Right.
a junkie now.
yeah, you're a junkie. So, like, all my dreams of you, like, being the plug, it just went right downhill. But I tolerated it for a while. He continued to buy me pills, and then he started getting me meth. So I was back on the meth kick. I remember I was working at Valero gas station on 2nd Street. Terrible place. And I'm like, I lock the doors because I work third shift, so I'm by myself. So it's like 2:30 in the morning. I go into the like walk-in freezer, and I'm in there just hitting my bubble, like not knowing like what's going on or people coming in. And I think I'm in there for like 10 minutes. I walk out, and it's like an hour and a half has passed.
Damn.
And the store's been
my
shut
God.
down. Like,
Wow.
yeah, that was
Wait, what do you mean shut down?
like I like locked the doors and put a sign like on the door, like going to the restroom, be back soon, and go into the freezer to do this.
And, yeah.
And I just don't come back out for like an hour and a half, 2
Damn.
hours. Sometimes it's like right before the morning shift person comes in. So by the time they get in, I'm like,
You're
my eyes
full
are,
on.
Oh God.
yeah, like fucked up, like stealing candy from there, like, because I'm so hungry, but like I don't have any money because I just spent it all on meth. And
That's
I'm
what
like,
relieving the third shift person at fucking Red Roof was like.
Man, I
fucking
bet.
come in and
Yeah.
that crit. Dude, there's so many crackheads that work behind the fucking front
I was
desk.
one of them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I guess that's true. You were.
yeah, it was
Definitely one of them.
it was wild times. But I thought I was managing.
What was the catalyst that got you sober?
Well, so I lost my kids
Again.
I started doing heroin, and my parents came and took my kids. When I finally, so I've been to treatment 14 times, all over Columbus, all over Chillicothe. I went to North Carolina to get clean. What got me clean, like the last time I went, I think I just had enough, like my kids, I hadn't seen my kids in months, and they only lived 5 minutes from me, and the dope house was right next door.
Oh.
So I was like sneaking around the house so my kids wouldn't see me, so I could go get my drugs and not have to deal with them. And they lived with my parents, so again, I was telling myself, like, they're fine, like, they're better off without me. But it had been months since I'd seen them, and finally I was just like, what am I really doing here? The house that my grandpa had bought for me, I had destroyed it. It was no longer a house. It was a trap house. Windows were busted, no water, no electric, like a typical trap house.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, I remember just sitting there, like, looking around, like, how did I go from, being like the drug dealer's daughter, like, this is how we make money, to like the bottom of the barrel
Right.
needle junkie. And I think it was really, I was just tired of disappointing my kids, and I ran out of options. Nobody would give me any more money. I was doing the things that women do to get drugs, and I would try to be with the plug, but if I couldn't be with the plug, then I would just do what I needed to do to get what I wanted from the plug. And it was very demeaning, and I felt awful about myself, and I just had enough. And I went to treatment and done the 28-day thing and thought I was healed.
Yeah.
And went back home to the same house, and it wasn't an hour later I had a needle in my neck again. So I went back to PHP.
Hold on. You were. What's this vein called?
Your carotid?
The
jugular?
The jug.
Yeah.
Is that what it's
Is
called?
that where you
I think
were?
it's, the carotid artery.
You were hitting yourself in the neck.
Yeah.
Because I'm assuming you're out of veins everywhere else at
Oh,
this
yeah.
point, yeah.
Yep. And that was, I remember I would sit for hours, 8, 10
Oh,
hours.
Yeah,
that was
hold on. Tell us about that process, because that's not something we've covered at all. And my veins survived. Like, I have some tracks, but I never had to like do the digging around thing.
buddy.
Can you like explain what that's like, especially because you were using your neck?
Yeah,
and there's a reason for
absolutely.
that.
Yeah. Well, I remember the first time I used a needle. The guy that I was with, he had been shooting up this whole time, and I was smoking it and snorting it, but I was like, I'm not going to touch the needle.
Which I think most people say.
Everybody, yeah.
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 And so I was very like greedy when it came to my dope. Like, I wasn't sharing with, I want you to share with me, but I will
Right.
not share with you. I'm already like letting you guys live in my house, so like you can give me your
Leverage
dope.
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would take, anywhere I went, my dope went with me. So I was in the shower and I had my dope in like the bathroom closet bathroom closet, like the linen closet that's in the bathroom. And apparently like the water had like gotten to it and it had like gotten wet. So like it wasn't like completely wet, but it was wet enough like I can't snort it anymore or smoke it probably. So I'm like, what am I going to do? So I called for my boyfriend at the time in there, and I'm like, you're going to have to like,
Yeah.
you're going to have to do this.
Yeah.
And I remember it was like he had been waiting for that moment his whole entire life. He reached above the bathroom mirror and grabbed a
Was
pop
ready to
can
go.
and a bag of needles, and like he didn't even hesitate.
It was like,
Like he was like, yes, this is it. And I remember thinking, like, you're not even going to like try to stop me. You're just going to, this is real. Because I expected some like
Some resistance, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I wanted to do it, but I wasn't sure. But I was like, well, if I'm not supposed to do it, he'll talk me out of it. He did not. And the very first time I done it, he done it to my neck. So he was like, hold your breath.
Oh, the very first
The
time.
very first time. He was just like, just sit very still, hold your breath. It'll be over before you know it. So I'm sitting there, holding my breath, and he does it, and then he leaves and is gone for hours. So I like crawl myself to my bedroom and I lay there and I'm real panicky at first. I'm like, I'm gonna die, you know, like this is it. Like I can't even tell my kids bye, I love you, like this is where I die. And I remember just laying there for what felt like hours, looking up at the ceiling, like, okay, it's getting better, it's getting better. And there was never, after I did it that first time, I never went back to the foil or
You
the
never
snorting.
can. Yeah, there's
It
no
was like-
returning.
Yeah.
I was in love.
So you were hitting yourself in the neck from that point forward?
It took me I don't know, about 3 months of him hitting me anywhere else he could.
Before
My
you
arms.
could do it yourself.
Yeah, I remember I would get so mad, like we would be fighting and he wouldn't hit me if we were fighting. So, and I'm at this point, like I'm like physically dependent. So
Yeah,
I'm like
you need him.
sick. I need it.
That is fucking bullshit.
That's such
Oh,
a dip or an asshole leverage move to pull.
Yeah, and he would do that to me all the time.
Ugh.
Oh my god.
And for people who might not understand what that means, it literally means that she could not hit herself with the needle. She needed a person to
Needed
do
an
it. So
expert to
without
do
that
it.
person to fucking shoot her up, she can't get
Yeah.
well or
Can't do it. Yeah.
And like,
so-
what a way to like end an argument, you know? It's
Right.
like, well, if you want me to do this,
yeah, it's
Right.
fucking
yeah,
wild.
it's a power move for
Yep,
sure.
and that's what it was. And it didn't matter how much I had. If I had enough to do some like on a foil, like I would not
Nah.
do it. I like that's a waste.
Yeah, it's
I'm
a
not gonna
waste,
do
yeah.
that. So I would sit in the bathroom for hours trying to hit myself, and I would go in and it would be daylight outside, and I would come out and it's like the middle of the night, 2 in the
I've seen
morning.
it. I've seen
And
it.
then
a
meanwhile,
lot.
like you're dope sick as
Oh, yeah,
fuck
sick
trying
as
to
fuck,
hit
like-
something.
Yeah, at this point, pouring sweat, naked, blood running down because I'm
Everywhere.
so hot and I'm puking and can't get it. So eventually I would give in and be like, okay, like I'm sorry, like
I love
please,
you.
yes, please just do it. And he would do it and I'd instantly be better and I'd forget what we were fighting about.
That's crazy. It's
Yeah.
fucking crazy.
Yeah,
It
man.
is, and it was that way for. I didn't learn to efficiently hit myself probably until I was like 8 months in.
I don't think people understand how fucking like that underworld, that like dark, like think about the times like you've been sitting in a fucking trap with like 5 other guys and everyone's fucking digging into their arms or necks or feet or hands,
And
blood.
I would go blindly. Like I didn't even know if
Like,
I had a
it's-
vein anywhere. I would just poke and then just dig
Hope
around
for
and
the
hope for the best.
It's
Yeah.
it's fucking
Yeah.
it's
I do
disgusting.
not miss
It
that
is.
insanity.
I remember there was blood everywhere on the ceilings,
Everywhere.
the
Yep.
floors.
People
like,
would squirt their fucking blood
Yeah.
on the ceilings and the walls. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
fucking crazy.
I would have fucking syringes tore apart, the plungers and
Oh,
shit with
man.
blood clots on just laying everywhere.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah, and
Can-
it was normal, you know, like
Yeah,
this
It
is
was, yeah.
that was absolutely normal.
Like I didn't
yeah.
even bat an eye when somebody came into my house and seen that. I was like,
It
what
is-
do you want
yeah,
to say?
It
Like,
is what it is.
Congratulations, finding your way out of that, and especially with the kids.
Yeah, I
getting your
appreciate
kids
it.
back.
It was a long battle. I'm still not there. You know, my daughter still lives with my mom. So hoping to get her back soon. But I just can't imagine like ever going back. I still got the videos of me, you know, on fentanyl, you know, hanging over my bathtub, like
And I've seen these videos, and that's why this is why I appreciate you so much because she doesn't give a shit about like posting.
Well,
on
that's
social
what helps.
media.
That's what helps people.
And yeah, I was like, yeah, like you used to be a train wreck girl.
oh yeah, I was. And I feel like to delete all those things and to forget like where I came from, you know, I'll be back there and in a
Yeah.
New York
Oh,
second.
and a heartbeat, yeah.
You know, I'd like to say, like, since I've gotten clean, things have been great. They haven't. My clean date from fentanyl, September 23rd, 2021. But within the last year, you know, I was in a really bad relationship, very toxic, unhealthy. And my coping skill for that was drinking. So I've got, like, a little over 120 days clean now from drinking.
Okay.
Congrats.
I appreciate it. It's always the men. They always.
And that's what I was gonna ask you. Is like, because I've known you for a while, and I know you have terrible picks in men, right? And I know that. And like, what do you think that is from daddy issues, or like, why do you like
You know,
these guys that?
I'm so easily manipulated, or I don't know if it's manipulated, or I'm just naive.
Mm.
What you see with me is what you get, right? So I feel like everybody's like that.
Mm.
So what I see in the beginning is what I assume I'm going to
Right.
get several months down the line. but it never ends up that way.
Yeah.
Like, they're always like the best guys in the beginning, and then they turn out to be controlling, manipulative, isolating, fucking douchebags.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, once I'm in it, I'm like, how did I get here again?
Again, yeah.
Like, and it's so like, I look back at the cycle, and it's always the same. It's always the same pattern. And I'm like, you'd think by now, like, I would like,
Recognize.
right, like recognize or maybe like not trust people for who they say they are. You know, like in the beginning at least, like maybe at least question it a little bit. Not just like when I go in, like I go like all the way. There is no like happy medium. Like,
Yeah.
you want the keys to my house, you want to like move in and do the thing.
Yeah.
Like there is no like, let's take it slow.
Right.
Oh
type
no, they're
thing.
just shooting in there. So what would you tell a girl like
Yeah,
that has
that's a great
this
question.
problem? Because this is a common thing.
Yeah.
What would you tell a girl that like
We've
about-
interviewed other girls that have said the same,
Yeah.
similar, or at least shit.
What I would say is like when people show you who they are, like don't doubt them. You know, like trust what they say. Like, who am I to say that's not who you really are? You know, in every instance that I've been in, you know, a couple months into it, I learn who these people really are, and I make excuses for them.
Yeah.
You know, I justify it. Well, I'm the reason why they're doing this, or it's my fault. You're not.
No.
Like, that's just them. Like, that's just who they are. You know, and I was always told, like, we go after the people we think we deserve. You know?
Yeah.
And that's what it is. Even though through this clean time and through being in counseling for years, like, my self-worth is still, like, you know, at the bottom level here. And, like, I have moments of, like, you know, like, I'm a good mom and, you know, I take care of all the things I need to. Like, I deserve a good man. But then other moments, I'm just like, you know,
This is what I get.
People think that you get clean and it's just fucking everything's amazing right off the bat, and that's
Yeah.
just not the case. It takes
Yeah,
time.
it does.
You know?
You know, my second husband, he overdosed and died like 60 days into my sobriety.
The Muslim guy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
that was like, that's when I found out once you get clean, things aren't sunshines
Right,
and rainbows. Because I was like, I'm clean and this is still happening to me.
And I remember sitting in treatment with you many a times, and you'd find out like somebody close to you just died. Like I'd probably 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
In that period.
Yep. My Uncle Johnny was killed during that time. My Uncle Benny died during that time. Yeah, I lost so many people in the first year of recovery. Like, it's wild to me. And in early recovery, it was the first time my ex-husband took me to court for custody of my kids. So here I am sober. He's been non-existent for 4 years. Now that I'm sober and doing the thing, you want to take me to
Right.
court. So yeah, my first year of sobriety, it was hell.
Easier though than what we were doing.
Oh
Yeah, in comparison.
Yeah.
You
yeah,
know?
by far.
Congrats on that.
Yeah.
'Cause
Yeah.
the kid thing has got to make it very difficult.
It is, and like your kids, like I love your kids. I think they're amazing, but they are a wild bunch.
They
So to be
are.
like newly recovered and dealing with that, and like already having pretty low self worth,
Yeah.
you know, like, so that's another reason. Like I just admire the shit out of you, man.
Yeah, it's
'Cause
a lot.
it
There's
ain't
some
easy.
days I'm like, what have I gotten myself into? There's no way I can do this. And I'm like starting the conversation to get my daughter back up here. My goal is to have her back up here after Christmas break.
Mhm.
But then my boys do some like off the wall shit, and I'm like, there's
Like,
no way.
I don't want any more of these things
Yeah, like,
around
how
here.
can I
Too
do
many.
this? Yesterday, 2 days ago, my son was standing on the bathtub, peeing into the toilet bathroom, soaked in pee. I'm like,
Jesus Christ.
why would
And
you even?
That's what
consider
kids
that?
do, and that's what
Jesus
like I
fucking
feel
Christ.
bad because like I expect them to act like I think at 40,
Right.
but I would think common sense would say like, don't stand on the bathtub, try to piss in the toilet across
Right.
the room. But
Right.
like, but yeah, you start like, what am I doing here?
Yeah, like second guessing everything.
Everything.
You know, like, and then like it's time to cook dinner, and I'm like, I fed these kids the same thing 3 days in a row. Like, I must be a terrible mom. I'm my own worst critic and my own worst
Absolutely,
enemy.
yeah.
We generally are.
So it's like, and I'm going to introduce another child to this. You know, plus I'm in school, plus I work. I'm like,
You're still doing college?
yeah. I'm
Good
still
for
in
you, girl.
college,
How
yeah.
much longer you got?
So if I go full time next semester, I'd be done, but there's no way.
No way.
Right now I'm in 3 classes, and it's like hell.
Oh no, that's a
I'm
lot.
passing, but it's like I go to
Just
sleep.
got to pass.
It's
Yeah.
time consuming.
It
It is
is.
very time consuming because
It
I'm
is.
I'm pretty manic about like all right, if I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna be the best at it.
Right.
And like I'm not accepting
Yep.
anything less than Dean's List.
Yeah.
And yeah, it just takes up a lot of your time and energy.
Yeah, it does. And I've been really hard about myself now because now I'm not going to be on the dean. I've been on the dean's list every semester prior, but this semester it's not happening.
Yeah.
So now I'm like, no, I can't even fucking do this right.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I'm doing the things. You know,
Yeah.
I've got a job. I've got my kids. Like I've kept my kids alive and well since school started back up. So like since August. They've not once seen me drink since they've been home. They've not seen me high. They don't have to, come knock on the bathroom door wondering how
Yeah,
long
like-
it's going to take me to come out.
Mm.
Like they know I'm going to be there on time to pick them up from school. Like that's never happened. I gave my son his 10th birthday party a couple weeks ago.
I know. I'm jealous. I didn't get
Never.
my invite to that.
I know. I'm
You
sorry.
asshole.
Yeah, it's just so wild to me. Like this is a crazy life that in the midst of my addiction, I never would have thought I was capable
Yeah.
of this. So I'm so full of just gratitude. It's just crazy. Sometimes I don't even feel like it's real. Like,
Oh yeah.
like I'm really like being a mom and doing like, this is what normal people do. Like this is what my brother and his family have been doing for years. And like, this is it. So now the I've arrived is no longer like, I've picked up my first pack. It's like, I'm doing the things that my kids deserve for me to do. And I'm so incredibly grateful for that.
Well, Bridget,
So
I
awesome.
I told you day one, I see something different in you, kid, and I love you. I'm fucking beyond proud of you, man.
Thank you so much. I
Yeah,
love
thanks
you
for
too.
sharing
Yeah,
and
thanks for coming out here.
being brave enough to share that with people.
Yeah,
It's not
absolutely.
easy to do.
It's all I've got, My truth is it.
That's right.
What you see is what you get.
What you
I
see is
know
what you
most
get.
people aren't like that, but like maybe I'll learn for myself. Like this is it.
Mm.
We shall see. On to another day.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Yes,
you, girl.
Thank you guys so much.
Sure.
All right. Well done, kid.